at the other, suggests a sort of galactic Kundalini movement. And actually, John Major Jenkins did actually suggest something similar in his book Galactic Alignment, and this is a picture, again, thanks very much, John. And this one here is by Darlene, Vincent Bridges' partner. And you can see that it implies there may be some kind of galactic chakras. This is a formation that occurred this year. We've already seen it, but look how similar it is to this diagram here, where you have it can be seen as the Caduceus, but it's also the Ida and the Pingala, which are the in the Hindu system. You have the Sushumna as the central column down the spine, up which the Kundalini rises, and there's a sort of intertwining passages either side of it, and also reminiscent of the Caduceus, but it's pointing at the pale horse, the white horse on the hill there, reminiscent of the pale horse of death from the book of Revelation. And as somebody mentioned, that just over here is it's Francine, I think, yeah, is Adam's grave, just off the map here. So you've got the pale horse of death, Adam's grave, and the Caduceus pointing to it, but that doesn't necessarily mean death as in bad news, because it could be the death of the species, the end of the species, and the start of a new species, the end of Homo sapiens, and the start of a new species of Homo superior, Homo perfectus, whatever you want to call it, but another step up the ladder, another level of the game.
Well, in addition to those phenomenon, we have some even more beautiful phenomenon, I believe, and pretty outrageous at the same time. Phenomenon to look at. Crop circles first appeared in numbers, in large numbers, mid-1970s, 75, 76, right around in there. And for those of you that may not be familiar with the crop circles, I'll review them just briefly. They were simply circles, patterns, in cereal grain crops in nearly every crop-producing country in the world, where the stalks of grain in an authentic crop circle, where they are gently bent at a 51-degree angle. They are still alive, they still produce their fruit, they may still be harvested if they're done early enough in their season. Researchers have discovered that samples of grains taken from within the crop circles are very different from the control samples that are taken outside of the circle. For example, the crystalline structure is different within the circle than it is from outside the circle. Seeds that are grown from within samples taken from within this crop circle germinate very quickly. They bud very quickly, and they produce more berries per unit than those taken from outside of the circle. There certainly are crop circles and glyphs that are hoaxed, and they do not produce the same phenomenon. They are not gently bent at a 51-degree angle. The stalks are actually broken on those. So in the mid-1970s, we began to see an increasing number of, at first they were circles, and the researchers were quick to say they're either hoaxed or they're natural phenomenon. They're just wind whipping these crops into vortices. Well, we began to see things like this. And I put this slide in here so that you could see the detail, the interwoven nature of the stalks. It's pretty difficult to hoax something like this, and especially over glyphs that are 200 and 300 yards in diameter. An interesting side note, in 1994, for the first time, we'd never found any animals that were caught up within any of these crop circles, probably because most animals, when they hear or sense whatever it is that's creating these circles, the animals run. Well, there is one particular animal that does just the opposite of that, and that is a porcupine. Porcupines, when they sense danger, they simply curl up into a ball and stay put until the danger has passed. Well, in 1994, for the first time in Canada, there were 2 porcupines whose quills were actually woven into the structure of the crop circle as it was unfolding. They were no longer living. They were very flat at that point. And their quills were very easily woven into the structure of this crop circle. To the best of my knowledge, that's the first time that that's happened. So we see these complex patterns that are very difficult to hoax. Well, the simple circles began to become more and more complex. Each year, the number of circles would increase through the early 1990s, and each year there would be what was called a grand finale, the greatest, most complex, most beautiful crop circle of all. This particular image here is from 1993, I believe, and this is considered to be the grand finale of 1993. Well, the researchers that were saying we had a natural phenomenon of wind whipping these crops into vortices looked at this and they said, well, this is pretty complex. It looks very intentional. Maybe there's something else happening. In 1994, I had the opportunity to